say hello to the unfinished Swan. So I played this game before, probably like 5 years ago or something like that. Haven't touched it since, really, but we just finished playing the What Remains of Edith Finch, and that ended up having a tie-in to the unfinished Swan, so I figure if there's a time to play it, it's probably now, right? Ooh, that continue symbol is concerning. I must have launched this before on the PS4. Don't look at the screen! That way. Back to the beginning. There we go. Awkward.
Monroe's mother had always been much better at starting things than finishing them. When she died, she left behind over 300 canvases, not one of them finished, along with Monroe, who felt pretty unfinished himself. The orphanage allowed him to keep only one painting, and so he chose the unfinished Swan that had always been his mother's favorite. But that night, he woke up to find the Swan had disappeared. So he took his mother's silver paintbrush and followed the footprints into a little door he hadn't seen before.
And so it begins. So, in Edith Finch, we encountered a character who escaped into a painting, and they are a member of a family of people who seem to be cursed to die at young and unfortunate ways. And one of them went off. They fancied themselves a king, and as best as I can tell, must have been the king of this land that this game takes place in. That's my retroactive interpretation. This character we're playing as right now cannot be the same person, because their name is Milton, and their mother died, apparently. Whereas in Edith Finch, this character's name is Monroe. I believe the character in Edith Finch was named Milton, and their mother was very much alive long after Milton disappeared, so the timing doesn't work out there. So, we are not playing as the character whose room we investigated in Edith Finch. Probably wondering why the screen is just white right now. Let's press some buttons. Hello? Isn't that interesting? And so we see the core conceit of the unfinished Swan, as it is introduced here. We're introduced by being put in this pure white environment, and only by placing this black paint, by painting on the canvas, can we be revealed what the heck's going on, and how our environment works, and how it's distributed, and so on. And the more you paint, the more you start to understand how the space around you works. But don't go over painting, because the same goes in reverse. Like, it was all pure white, and you couldn't tell what anything was at first. So if I make it all pure black, then it can quickly become the same problem all over again. So it's about contrast. It's about using positive and negative space in equal, not necessarily equal, but in reasonable balance, so you can navigate an environment. It's a fun gimmick for a game. I think it must have stuck with people a bit, because this game must have been reasonably successful if they managed to go on to make Edith Finch, which, as you may have noticed, is a much more detailed game. Because while this is a clever mechanic, it's also probably a cost-saving measure, because it means you can make all these models of stuff, like this pitchfork and barrel, and they're probably, I bet you they never had to make any kind of textures for any of this stuff. Try to poke around and figure out what our environment looks like. Here we go. We started off in a basic square-shaped environment. Here we go. We went through an archway, as you can tell. Was there a ceiling in here? Nope. There was not a ceiling on this side either. So we've gone past a wall of some kind. These appear to be stones, pitchfork and barrel, a bench. These look like stalks of bamboo. and a fence. So you can slowly piece together what your environment is and what it means. So this isn't, as far as I can remember, this is not exactly a puzzle-solving game, so much as an exploration game, and it's sort of like a whimsical wandering around thing. But while Edith Finch is a game that's all about really dense details telling an incredibly specific story about a cast of characters, this is more abstract, as you're probably getting. It's very pretty. And there's something new. We have footprints. Let's get up close to that. Look at that. So the game's called The Unfinished Swan, and he went after the picture of the swan, which seemed to disappear. And here we are. We have tracks to follow. And I'm hearing frog noises. Spooky thing is it could be all over the place and we have no idea where it is. This apparent frog. There's a wheelbarrow. Actually a really expansive area. You can tell, and because they're all 3D models, you only paint the side you originally reach when you paint. Which means you can go around the corner from where you painted everything and immediately go back to not being able to tell where anything is. There's something noteworthy. Oop, missed it. There we go. Hey, a fish. My globs of paint reach water. Means they don't paint anything. So we need a way around the river then. Let's home in on this frog noise. Right here. Bye. Need to figure out where the hell I'm going. Ah. I didn't remember that. That was really startling and loud. This log seems to go nowhere, unfortunately. Well, we doomed that frog to die by startling it from its hiding spot. It was safe before, being pure white in a white environment. It was camouflaged. Then we painted it black, and it was consumed by a predator. Way to go, us. Mankind ruining everything once and for all. Here we go. So there's an amusing thing where there is an achievement for beating this first level that I'm in right now by only shooting like 3 globs of paint or something like that, which involves being very careful and very selective of where you place it, and a lot of running into invisible walls until you can get your way forward. Thankfully, I'm not getting that right now. It's not really fun. It's just an amusing thing to try to do afterwards. Hey there. Every now and then it's kind of nice to try to paint something in completely. As long as it's not a wall or an actual structure. But something like a tree that's just sticking out here. You can paint it more completely and it gets this really stark silhouette. They get a lot of mileage out of the visual design of just being pure black and white. It's partly because this is inherently cool looking, this visual. Like these white reeds in front of the black splotched deck with more black reeds behind it, like just that binary color change crossed with the splattered boundaries is really nice to look at, especially when it's moving, although they led to some fun stills too. Even to this day, Edith Finch has a one of its promotional art things is a black and white silhouette, because I think that's just something that this developer is interested in. We've crossed the river. Ah! And we've had a change. So it'll quickly become apparent that I've forgotten a lot of things about this game because of how much time has passed. So some of the stuff is a bunch of a surprise for me. It's been a long time. This is part of the fun. It's just discovering something new. Visually, like this here. We got rails, we've got lanterns. Cool visuals. Why is it bouncing like that? You gotta be careful to always be alternating, leaving some of it white, or you'll quickly lose the ability to tell where you're going. Ooh! Look at me knocking that forward with physics. You got a crown. What's your deal, crown? Could it be? Is it our very own King Milton? Nose and all? This appears to be a statue of the king, the character from Edith Finch that we followed backwards into this game. There's that noteworthy crown we found on his grave. His grave that Dawn insists is not a grave but a memorial, or something like that, because they never found his body. Nobody knows what happened to Milton. All we know is he never showed up again. It's been decades now, so he's probably not coming back. But if you want to be optimistic, then let's say he escaped here. The question is this place real? Is this place real? Is this character, this protagonist of this game? Look at this, by the way, I've scattered it everywhere, and now you've got this really cool make out of what this whole place looks like visually. Got just enough positive and negative space to more or less figure out what we're looking at. It's a really cool effect. The question is whether or not this place is real in itself. What happened to Milton? How long has he been here? Is he actually here? Are we actually here? What happened to Monroe? How did Monroe find his way inside of a painting? A lot of questions to ask, and not a lot of reason to think we'll necessarily find the answers to these questions. I hear a goose. I mean a swan. Let's not be stupid. Look at that visual. You can see how I slowly made my way across that land, splotching everywhere. It looks a little less elegant at this distance, because you can see how splotched all together it is, whereas when it's closer up it looks really cool and piecemeal. Although the tree looks really neat from here in particular. I like that. Can I finish painting in that path? Not really. We can kind of max out our silhouettes here and get a more complete picture down there, if we want to. It's cool though, so that's where we started. That's the bamboo shoots, that's the back room. That might even be the actual room right there that we're looking at in the back there. Nice music. So let's keep following the Swan tracks. That's all we really have to go on. How high is this building? Did I hit a window? It's high enough that we can't seem to shoot the top of it. That's something. Can we walk up here? Sure can. But to what end? We have a roof here. There's Swan tracks. Looks like it's a statue of yep, it's a rooster. A chicken, or something. Yeah, chicken, actually. No, chicken or rooster? Rooster, right? No, chicken. Crap. Yeah, it doesn't have anything on the bottom of its head. Got something gold out there. Can I hit it from here? It's a pig? Yep. Pig statue, chicken statue. What's this one? A hand? Holding a drumstick? A balloon? Someone with a gold ring. That's the only color this game seems to have, is the color gold. And makes itself known from time to time. Lets you piece together the environment a little bit without having to paint it. The more you spam black, the less detail you get, because the environment just becomes pure black eventually. We seem to have multiple references to food. A Pegasus. Well, it's not a livestock animal, at least. We had pig, chicken, we had seemingly like a drumstick or something being held over there, and then a rotisserie. But then we have a Pegasus. Very stark visual. And what are you? Whatever you are, you're quite far away. Oh. A crate, and it actually reacts to physics. Not sure what I'd do with that, but I can. Something kind of neat about seeing it react. Where's the staircase going? There we are. We have we can see the king's mustache and crown over there. And we can make out some of what I've done here. Look at it continue to sway. The king was young, arrogant, and amazingly talented. He was convinced no color existed that was good enough for his garden, so he left it white. While he pondered how to create some new colors, he began attracting settlers soon he found himself with bigger problems. Young, arrogant, and amazingly talented. Is it just him being full of himself, though? Huh. This entire place is white because he thought it was so important, basically. But what new problems arose? Oops. I'm destroying these. Ah. One set of blocks. Now we're out somewhere new. Now there's color. Look at that. We seem to have found ourselves... Oh. Well, there's the unfinished swan. It seems to have distracted us away from finding our way to that hot air balloon. Our first sampling of something in full color. And so we find ourselves in the watchtower. Let's try to press forward. Never trust your footing, it's dangerous. You never know what's gonna happen. Hey there. Down you go. Here's something concerning. I'm knocking it down there, but it sounds like it's up here. Oh? And how exactly does gravity work? What is our continuity of environment? Because it would appear that these holes are looping. And what's through here? Oh yeah, you can see the pot through there. As that same as through there. What happens if I go over here, though? Is that an escape? Oh, we're out. Just like that.
The king's new subjects were tired of white. They were tired of tripping, of banging their shins, of misplacing their homes. So they started painting everything, ruining the king's spotless design. In response, the king outlawed all non-magical brushes and pledged to spend the next month painting shadows for his kingdom.
Just such a fun concept. The idea that this pure white town was so impossible to navigate that he's like, okay, I'll give you shadows so you can see your environment. And so we have shadows and water and loud sounds coming from the bubbling depths. But suddenly, we're not just blindly wandering around. Suddenly we have an environment. Also, I'm not really sure why that voice acting didn't play the first time. There you are. There's the big ol' sea monster that destroyed that creature. So when I first played this game, I thought that was the only gimmick. I thought the game was going to be just about painting negative spaces to navigate an environment. But look what we have here. Things have already changed. And how many times will they? So somewhere out there, we're looking for... Anything here? Somewhere we're looking for a hot air balloon. They've teased us with that. And now it's the only thing that matters. See, how do we navigate? Oh, staircase. Found via the power of shadows. Aha. Anything around here? Oh, hey. This is the collectible of this game. Ta-da! Balloon! Some of them are found already, because I apparently have launched this game before. On this console. I got 100% completion of it on the PS3, like 5 years ago, but this is on PS4, where I think I did a 1,000 subscribers thank you video in this like years ago, and so I ran around in it for a little bit. He's painting a picture of himself, painting a picture of himself, painting a picture of himself. Fitting. We opened up a flip book of him where he drew a flip book of himself, where he drew a flip book of himself. Well, now it's gone. Take that. Oh, it's a maze. I don't need your solutions. No answers in the back of the book for me. I feel like I'm basically a monster for doing what I'm doing right now. Look at this. So this is the first level, it would look like. Yeah. So we're out in the swamp, then we come in through here, and we arrive in here. And there's the king statue. There's the Pegasus. There's the thing that's hanging down the machine part, the crate. Here's the courtyard, and now it's all black. Haha. I'm basically a monster. Oops. There we go. Got a few copies of the Pegasus here. Well, hello. Would you look at this? And there's the swan. Die. Oh. Come back, you're all I have left of my mother who died. Who never finished paintings. Oh. Well, now we have a maze. And an interesting prospect to face when it comes to the concept of trying to solve a maze. And that said maze is white entirely from certain perspectives. It may not be as straightforward as they usually go. Isn't it funny how we start off just globbing paint everywhere because it's the only way to play? But then before long they give me an actual environment full of shadows and gold and clearly some forms of architecture. And the moment that happens, suddenly I'm kind of afraid to, I feel a little guilty for putting paint everywhere because it's clearly a place people are using. On some level. And I'm like, and if suddenly, the moment that there are details that exist that I didn't add, it stops feeling like a place that I'm open to just do whatever I want with. You can see where some of my paint landed. Without painting, we'll barely be able to tell where some of these walls are. Barely. The funny thing is, when I made the subscribers video back in the day, this is the type of game I would have never considered playing on this channel. I had to change over time my perspective of how audiences worked and niches and demographics and stuff like that. Because once upon a time, I thought this kind of content would always be too boring for people. Nobody wants to watch a game like this. Play it, maybe. It's interesting. But for me, a Let's Play video and gaming content in general was like high-energy comedy stuff, usually involving multiple people. And admittedly, that's still the kind of stuff I often watch. But it's become abundantly clear to me that that's not how everyone has to be. And there's plenty of people who don't want that.
The labyrinth was designed to be beautiful, and it was. It was not designed to be practical, and it wasn't. Whole families got lost for weeks at a time, mail took months to arrive, and many worried a labyrinth of this size was bound to attract dragons. Eventually, the complaints grew so loud even the king couldn't ignore them.
Let's poke around a little bit longer. So there was a specific game that kind of changed my channel, which was The Legend of Grimrock 2. Hey there. Giant monument to paintbrush. Fitting for this kind of place. Let's paint the paintbrush. Can I reach that high up? Because for the longest time, my first game I played on this channel was Outlast, and then I was like, I want to play RPGs, so I did Demon Souls and Dark Souls 2, and so on. Just came naturally. It was just the stuff that didn't fit on my other channel, basically. But then, Grimrock 2 was an RPG. I played it for that reason. But it was also a puzzle game, and people were really into that, and I was really into that. I love that game. And before long, I was like, okay, let's check out Talos Principle, let's check out The Witness, and then before long I'm playing Portal and narrative indie games and all these other things where you just kind of meander or solve puzzles, and there's no violence and no action and no progression systems. And it's the type of stuff I really enjoy. I also love RPGs, obviously, or I wouldn't be playing them all the time. But it's just interesting thinking back to how my perspective has changed since even when I made the video that used this game once upon a time, where I was in this labyrinth and I was reading out the names of like 100 audience members that were prominent, and I was thanking for getting me where I was and stuff like that. I might get off topic from time to time in this playthrough, because it's kind of a meandering, chill experience. Well, where Edith Finch gives me constant things to think about and theorize, this is really a meditative experience. You just kind of do what you want to do. I'm also pretty sure that the solution to the yep is right here, but I kind of want to just poke around. There's something satisfying about completionism, about just sort of painting each wall a little bit just because you can. The king was not one for practicality. Oh my goodness. So one of the things I like about this game is that time and space don't make sense. And it just casually happens. Look at that. We looped in an environment earlier, but look at this. I'm in my maze here. When we looked at this maze from above earlier, it seemed to be on the bottom of the area. You go through this doorway, and you end up somewhere else entirely. You end up clearly very high up. Incredibly high up. That appears to be the canal we saw earlier. The implication seems to not be that this just happened to have a cliff nearby, but instead that it was overlooking a huge area. Like it's not that we just approached a cliff this way, it's like we actually just suddenly got to the top of the tower even though we were going down.
The king was so frustrated with the messy, demanding people of his kingdom that he decided to start over. One morning he painted a boat and set off to find the perfect spot. He told himself he'd come back someday to finish what he had started, but of course, he never did.
So he's got the same tendency to not finish things that our mother, this Monroe's mother, apparently had. Just kind of does what they want and takes off and keeps creatively just keeps creating things almost manically, but not necessarily needing to finish anything. It makes me wonder what effect Dawn had on her children, because she homeschooled her children, and there was 2 boys and a girl at the time, and one of them went off to work at a horribly monotonous job where they would escape into fantasy worlds, and in those fantasy worlds, he would constantly take over different parts of the world, become beloved by the people, and then leave to go do it again over and over again in new locations. Whereas this one seems to create the lands themselves, and then the moment things start going anywhere, he leaves to make something else again. That's the clear pattern here. We don't know quite as much about Edith because she was the protagonist, and she was the female sibling. And there goes our Swan. Boink. I'm painting the hot air balloon and you can't stop me. Look at that. That's a neat detail, being able to zoom in on that. But I think that's all I can do. I can't really, like, look around.
Hello! Woohoo!
The D-pad actually makes me talk.
Hey! Hey!
Well, let's continue our whimsical adventure, shall we? Hip.
For the first time in weeks, Monroe felt good. He felt even better when the wind pushed him close enough to reach the Swan. He was feeling so good, in fact, that he forgot all about his fear of heights. But when the Swan wriggled free and Monroe fell over the side, he remembered almost immediately. That might have been the end of Monroe if this were a shorter story, but it isn't, which is why Monroe's troubles were just beginning.
Chapter 2, The Unfinished Empire. Alright, so we should be caught up with how far my save went then, at this point. Huh. Missing a few balloons around there, aren't we?